Hey, thanks for joining us on today's live stream. Please consider this our gift to you, an exploration into the spiritual realm, the universal architecture of infinite possibilities. Here we teach, explore, experiment in order to share the secrets passed down from the masters. All right, let's get going because we are a few minutes late. We are so excited to celebrate our 100th live stream with a different format for this episode. Because normally this might have been considered to be part of the Infinite Wisdom series, but it isn't an interview. It's different. It's better. Let's call it a convergence of brilliance. A global collaboration to ignite more vibrational and synchronistic realities. A gathering that delves deep into the topic of what will it take to create a global collaboration of thought leaders, all with the singular purpose of touching more minds, more souls, more dreams, all coming together to develop new ideas and methods for accelerating the distribution of collective knowledge and growth mindset to our co-created reality. The premise is that the world is being perceived as a reality of turmoil and chaos, a literal stew of anger, perpetuated with a steady diet of frustration, fear, and anxiety. And people are overwhelmed. So what can we do? What can we create to solve this dilemma and empower those who are really affected and literally fractured? So this forum is about creating solutions that can reach out on a global scale. Perhaps instead of the Library of Congress, we develop the Global Library of Empowerment. Something not owned by anyone, whereas something owned by everyone.
Yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, I can barely sit still. Just so you guys know, like 10 minutes before we were going to go live, the power goes out in my area, and had to switch everything back over to Ross, and then so I'm actually running on my phone's data plan with my computer powering, and my backlight is from my phone, so that's why I'm a little orange today. It's not a sunburn. It's because I'm in dark with just the light of my phone
because this canning booth went on overdrive.
Yeah, I fell asleep. But I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to stick around because my battery is slowly dwindling down here too on my computer. So this is a live stream you're absolutely going to want to stick around for, and then come back and replay and add it to your favorites for sure. So before we bring in and introduce our special panel here today, we want to first thank all of you for being here with us for these 100 episodes. Right? So go ahead and drop a hashtag 100 episodes in the comments. That's hashtag 100 episodes in the comments. And throughout this live stream, we are going to give out 3 awesome prizes. Okay, but it'll only be awarded to those that put the hashtag 100. So make sure you put the hashtag 100 episodes, and you'll qualify for that. So we'll announce the winner or winners spontaneously in spontaneous segments throughout the stream. So we're not going to tell you when. We're just going to spontaneously do it to make sure you stick around. Okay, it's going to be really awesome. You got to make sure you're here for it. And so that's hashtag 100 episodes if you want to qualify for that. Now, some of you are catching us here for the very first time, and this is a great episode to jump in on. And there are a lot of you that have been here, week after week after week, hacking the infinity matrix and developing your ability to master the art of creating your reality. So for that, we thank you. We thank you from the depth of our hearts for being here, for spending the time, the energy with us, and trusting us with being in your presence and in your space, wherever you're watching or listening to us from, and giving us that time and energy. We really value that and appreciate that. And as a reward for being here, we have a live stream that if it was a category at the Oscars for evolutionary content, this would definitely get nominated. All right. All right. So let's go deep. Let's go deep. Let's go high. Let's go in. Let's go out. And let's go beyond the limitations of our past and into a collaborative future of joy, harmony, and abundance. So let's see where this is being broadcast. See, a bunch of you are punching in the hashtags there, so that's great. Let's see where where the live stream is going out to today. And if you are here live or on the replay, go ahead and tell us in the comments, where are you tuning in from? Let us know what city and what country. And if this is your first time, drop a hashtag first time in the comments so that we can properly come back and welcome you into our global community. Ross and I come back and we touch base with all the comments after the streams. So it's not going to go unnoticed. All right. Hashtag first time, and give us a hashtag hooked on hacking if you're a regular, right? If you're one of our regulars, hashtag hooked on hacking. And during the stream, remember to participate. Let's blow up the chat and with comments, questions, shares, insights, and aha moments. Today, you will hear from a really awesome panel. Some you've already heard from in our interview series, and some are going to be new that you haven't yet heard, that we'll be bringing them in at some point in the future. So we've got Nat Karuptri. Did I say it right?
Karuptri. That's good.
Oh, so close, so close. Karuptri. All right, so Nat Karuptri. And then we've got Deidre Morrison, and then we've got bernardbeitman, and we're going to have Gregory and gailhoag coming in, as well as aniahalama, and they'll be joining us here today. And then, of course, you've got Ross and I, or at least Ross for the extension, me potentially being here for the duration as well. So we've come together as 8 thought leaders, free thinkers, and empowered souls to collectively combine our decades of knowledge and experience into this one laser-focused mastermind of expansive thinking for our global and planetary evolution, all with the intention of expanding into a spiritual network, or dare I say, a spiritual matrix for the distribution of ideas, processes, and techniques across the planet, empowering the helpless, strengthening the weak, embracing the fearful, and elevating our co-collective existence. So this is definitely going to run longer than our usual live streams. So sit back, relax, take notes. Definitely feel free to interact with us as if you were in the audience with us. By entering questions in the comments, we will get to them, as many as possible, either live, or one or all of us will circle back after the show and reply to you specifically in the comments. All right. So here's how it's going to play out. The scheduling for all of us, all the panel here, was a challenge to get us all here at the same time. But here's the best part. All of them, every one of them here, and those that are coming on, wanted desperately to be a part of this historic moment, both for our 100th episode and the masterminding of this, as Ross would call it, big, bodacious, badass dream. So, so some will start with us. Some of them will come in with us a little bit later, and some will have to leave a little early because of different time zones and commitments and stuff. While others may come in to participate for segments and then leave. Again, keep in mind that they've massaged, tweaked, and adjusted their schedule. So please, let's give them some props when they're here. Comments, share, likes, thumbs, all that kind of stuff. And there's even one who's on the other side of the planet completely. And so she stayed up late and just to be here for you guys. And so we really appreciate that. And of course, we're talking about you, Deidre. Ross and I are incredibly enthused about the potential of this forum and the empowered future it can bring for millions of people moving forward. Our intention is to come away with a draft of what it can bring for the global collaboration, what that can look like. And along with it, the potential, and then maybe even follow up with creating quarterly forums and even an annual summit. So that's where we're seeing this as going, and we'll be sure to put all of the speakers' contact info in the stream comments, as well as also in the description on our YouTube channel, and you can find us there with the handle at Infinity Matrix on YouTube with that handle. And so here's our team. Thanks everybody for showing up. And do you want to start them off for us?
Yeah. So, excuse me. So let's start with a question, and we'll put this out to everybody, and then we will just see who's got the first response. And we're going to ask our panel just to use your hand raise, so that we can we don't have anybody over talking on the other person. So let's start with this. What will it take to create a global collaboration of thought leaders, all with that singular purpose of touching more minds, more souls, more dreams, all coming together to develop new ideas and methods for accelerating the distribution of collective knowledge and growth mindsets to the entire planet?
It's just a small dream.
Just a small one. So we have ideas ourselves, and we don't want to put them out immediately, because we don't want to control as much the direction of this conversation. So I'm going to put this out as more of a broad statement. What does that mean to you? And how do you see something like that coming together? And I'm actually going to ask Bernie to start, simply because it was a conversation with him that sparked this idea for Gary and myself. So I'm just going to put all the pressure on Dr. Beitman.
Thank you for putting all the pressure on me. I appreciate it. I do like that.
Very well.
I do like that. I did play a little football that's called "Give Me the Ball," like running with it. So,
Right.
so thank you very much, quarterback, for giving me the ball. I'm a psychiatrist in Charlottesville, Virginia, and I write about meaningful coincidences like synchronicity and serendipity, and that's how I got caught up with these guys. They're into that stuff, as some of you well know, and have some good ideas about how coincidences can bring you into the present and expand your awareness of what's going on right now. They got a good game going there, and we hit a good sweet spot talking about that stuff. Now, it's very important to me anyway, and I hope others, to talk about how what the purpose of this thing is, of this global collaboration. And you're talking about information and empowerment. I think you're missing something. I think you're missing what the purpose of that is. And for me, the purpose, as you well know, we've talked about this, is that humanity is now in a self-destruct. There's a suicidal thing going on here that all of us are contributing to. We're trashing the planet and we're trashing each other. And we can't keep doing this. Otherwise, we're a very small minority of what continues to exist on this earth. And it takes away a lot of fun that's potentially available to us. But we have to organize ourselves into what I call the collective human organism, so that empowerment that you're talking about helps people find their purpose in being here on Earth. And that purpose then begins to mesh with other people having similar purposes, and they form kind of organs within this collective human organism, each of us as a cell. So it's an individual thing. Find what you're good at, find out what you can do, and it's a collective thing. And my part in this is to say synchronicity can help with individual purpose development, and then synchronicity can help with developing relationships among and between your tribe, your organ, the people who are part of what you're part of trying to make happen. And then that whole thing can be then connected to other parts of this collective human organism. So the information that we need, to me, is how to use synchronicity and other things to bring us together as individuals, but also as part of a global whole, the collective human organism.
Ross, if you're talking, you're muted.
Oh, there we go. All right. So my question to that is that it seems that the human race is so wrapped up in borders and boundaries and these putting these walls up in whether they be literal, electronic, or whatever, or physical. And when it comes to wanting to put together a program like this where everyone is interconnected, how do we get past that? Is something that's innate in the human condition, Doctor?
That we have boundaries?
Say, this is my idea, I'm not going to share it, or I don't want to share it, or don't step over that line, with your ideas and try to influence my culture, or tell me that you're better than me, etc. And we've run into these in the past, it seems it kind of pops up a lot. So how do we get past that?
It's good to acknowledge that it's there,
right?
That we have, and I mean, I run into it too. My organization is the one that everybody should pay attention to. I mean, I got a little bit of that with my organization, the Coincidence Project, but not too much of it. It's like you gotta to be able to do the individual and simultaneously keep in mind the global is hard for humanity to do. You're right in asking that question. To be able to be individual and part, it's a tough thing. Some people go, oh, it's all one. And that's a difficult one as well. Other people go, it's all me. Mm-hmm. It's got to be, it's me, and we're all part of the same thing. And that's not the usual way human beings think about themselves.
Do you think it's not usual, or do you think it's conditioned? Do you think that it's something based on the conditions of what we're taught from a very early age of this is mine, that's yours, stay away? Like I see that as a pattern that's brought in really quick. Like even from this is my child, it's like, well, okay, well, even from that energy of ownership, and separation starts fairly early. So do you think it's conditioned, or do you think that it's something that's innate, like Ross was kind of asking there?
Well, just like your question is either or, it's not either or. There are all these things, multiple variables contribute. And I prefer to think of what you're talking about as a male, female, yin and yang kind of thing, that it tends to be the male thing is I'm right, and the female thing is collaboration and connection, and we got to bring both of those together. However, we've gotten to it, and it's good to talk about how we get there. But however, how can we do polarity and continuum? People tend to do continuum or just polarity. Yep. Got to be pulled together, and I'm trying to say that synchronicity, the experience of doing meaningful coincidences, your own meaningful coincidence, can help people do that, recognize that I am separate from my environment, but the coincidences of mind and environment say I am also part of my environment. And that's where you have the experience, not just the talk, but when you think of something and it happens outside of you. One of the funny ones is when you need information, you go to a bookstore and a book falls on the floor right in front of you that you need. Yeah. That suggests something relationship between you and your environment. I'm not just me. I'm not just an island.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Great. Nat, what do you think?
First of all, Nat, introduce yourself and let people know, your business and what you come into, how you
Sure. Thank you, guys. So I'm Nat Karometry, based in the Boston area, and I'm a spiritual coach. I help people live from presence, follow what feels alive, surrender, and really be rooted in who they are. I'm also the founder of a tour company called Inquisitive Journeys, and we take people in small groups to travel, but to travel in a way to get to know themselves. Ask me a question again about this.
So as far as where do you feel let's say the first step to creating a global collaboration, where we can get past kind of those innate feelings of borders and walls and barriers that seem to, be the first thing that kids learn on the playground. This is my toy, it's not your toy. I'm going to be, I'm on the slide and the slide's mine and not yours. Don't step over this line. I believe that that's the first step is solving that particular challenge before we can go further with the idea of, like, because we can create something, but if everybody's like, yeah, but that's yours on that side of the planet, and we're talking planet-wide, globally, how do we get past that? This is mine, this is yours, and that can be religion, culture, belief systems of any sort. How do we get past that, or can we get past that? No, this is how I do it. I don't do it like you do it.
I don't think we need to get past that.
Okay.
I think that I've come to believe that everything is on purpose, and sometimes not sometimes, but often boundaries are important for our own being, as long as those boundaries come from a sense of self-worth and self-care and self-love, versus boundaries set from fear, for instance. But I think that, like, going back to your question about this global collaboration, what does it take? It takes taking a stand for what you want to create, and then putting that vision out and drawing the others, inviting the others that are like what you want to create, that are open to sharing their perspectives, and that are also open to other people's perspectives, as a way of sparking awareness, as a way of getting in touch with what's alive in each of us, for us to choose what's best for us. I think that's the beauty of a collaboration, is it's not just one way, because we all are on unique journeys, right? And even those that are maybe not following the hacking the matrix path are on their own journey. It doesn't mean that they're on a wrong journey. That's
Correct.
their
Yes.
journey, right? And even when we're acting in ways that maybe other people don't prefer, doesn't mean that they're wrong or we're wrong. It's just what we are doing in the moment. Can we be more conscious? Yes. Can we be more respectful? Yes. But that's part of what life is. Life, speaking to Dr. Beitman's like synchronicities, is like life shows us what we need to see. Sometimes it's what we prefer. Sometimes it's not what we prefer, but it doesn't mean that it's any less right. That could be a synchronicity in itself, right? And we're often just seeing synchronicities as like a positive occurrence, but sometimes synchronicity could be something that, like, who knows? You've been working hard, you don't take care of yourself, and you get into an accident, and you're forced to rest, and you're forced to ask for help, and asking for help is tough for you. And life puts situations together for you to get the message that, hey, you need to learn to rest and you need to learn to ask for help. And that, like I said before, you're not an island, you're a part of a collective. So, again, going back to the initial question of collaboration, is like, we need to bring lots of minds together like you are doing here, and then letting the people, the audience, decide, hey, I resonate with Gary, or I resonate with Dr. Beitman, or, I resonate with Deidre. I don't resonate with that Nat guy. I don't know what he's talking about, but that's fine. That's okay, right? Like, but we have to be ourselves. Even, I mean, just go back, what comes to mind is like, back in the day, I used to listen to a lot of channeled material because I was searching and I was looking. And, one of the best advice I got was, even that channeled material, you got to check in with yourself to see whether it's for you. You can't just blindly follow anyone out there, because, if it's not for you, it's not for you. And it's okay. It doesn't mean that you're wrong or they're wrong. It's just, that's their message and it's not for you. So I don't know. Now I feel like I'm rambling, so I'm going to stop here.
No, you're not. You're really onto something very good. And the part that I ask you is, how do you know when it's for you and when it's not for you? Yeah,
that's a great question. Experience. You have guides. You start to see patterns. Like for me, one of the things that I work with a lot of people on, and I've seen it myself, is this idea of self-protection. The ways that we've learned to cope, that act as self-protection, whether that's procrastination or for me, the big one is procrastination. That's top of mind. And how that shows up for me is, I think I need more time to do something. And then I keep pushing, procrastinating, pushing off the thing that I'm supposed to do. But really, what I'm doing is I'm avoiding feeling the discomfort, right? It took me a while to come to this place of recognizing, hey, this is what I do. And my mind can easily make up a story that's very convincing. That like, oh yeah, I do need more time, or, oh, now is not the right time. But over time, you see, this is a pattern. I never really get stuff out into the world that I really want to get out in the world, because I have this belief that it's going to be terrible. And so I'm distracting or avoiding or delaying what I'm projecting to be uncomfortable, right? So it was just one example of like getting to know yourself. And sometimes, having coaches, having guides is helpful to help us see ourselves. And even then, sometimes we go around the block several times, even with guides, and say, no, I know, I don't believe you. This, I'm going to trust myself. So it's okay. Like, I think that's part of the beauty of our journeys, is sometimes it does take more time to get ourselves, to see through our disguises, to see through our masks and walls, as you talked about. But it's okay. Like, that's just part of our humanity. The more that we can embrace our humanity, the easier it is to let go of some of these things that are in our way. But the more that we judge our humanity and try to get away from it, the harder it is.
That's great. That's fantastic. Deirdre, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks, Ross. Yeah, really happy to be here, and thank you for the invitation.
Well, thank you for staying up late.
Oh, it's not that late.
How do you see, what is your impression, or how do you see global collaboration becoming a reality? A true long-term, not just for a 1-year project. I mean, something that's going to be everlasting.
Yeah, that is the question, isn't it? And we've already had such great thoughts on this here. I think Gary used a phrase right at the start about embracing the fearful. And I think that has been echoed in different ways by both Bernie and by Nat. So I think, one of the things that I always see in this is the need for awareness, the need for self-awareness. And I think, again, that echoes what's already been said. And, there's that great phrase that education doesn't change the world, education changes people and they change the world. But I think that, I'd stretch that a little bit and say that it's really awareness changing life, and the beings that are living that life, they change the world. So what is it that we need to be aware of? This idea of, we have these identities that are this or that, and recognizing that as humans, we are this and that, and this thinking, this either open or closed thinking, this male or female, as it was called earlier, thinking, this structured or free thinking, all of these things are within each of us. And it's our ability to understand and access this thinking. So, when I emailed you actually recently, Ross, because this was on my mind. And I'd been listening to a group talking about their experience of working with teams. And this is a tiny, tiny, small little unit. And I think this is really, for me, if this is going to work, if this is going to, if this vision can be realized, it has to, in a way, take hold in the smallest ways to start with. It has to seed within families, within classrooms, within teams and organizations, and then on up. This isn't a topical application of something that we can just roll out. This has to be adopted. There has to be a will, and there has to be an imagination for it. And there has to be an integration of everything that already exists. All of these ways of thinking that we have, they have got to coexist. They've got to understand each other's positives, each other's strengths, and each other's, I'll not necessarily say weaknesses, but sometimes unhelpful tendencies.
Exactly. And so what would be the first step that we would do to create that?
For me, it always goes back to awareness and creating awareness. And, people don't know what they don't know, right? So, I mean, we can't change what we don't understand that we can change.
Mm-hmm.
So
and many don't even realize that it's possible.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't know you're in a box, how are you ever going to get beyond the box, right? Correct.
Exactly. And I think for myself, and that was the first thing that I thought of when this started coming to fruition, is that how do we approach somebody and say, you should learn this and such, when they don't understand that reality that I'm coming from.
Oh, many roads to the mountaintop, Ross, though. I mean, if you look at even the 3 ways that are being presented here, 4 ways, 5 ways, there are different avenues for people to accomplish the same end. There are different ways for people to understand themselves. Different metaphors will appeal to different people. It's like he said about the coincidence in the book that falls down, and that's the one for you. So, it's maybe not this, it's like trickles coming out of something rather than, one river. But all streams lead to the ocean, I guess.
I remember a long time ago when I was mostly in business management. And when I would take a vacation, it wasn't, I didn't go to Hawaii to lay on the beach. I went to seminars and events and that kind of stuff. And I would come back and a lot of people, most of my employees would have just this, you spent your week or your 2 weeks in a room, learning stuff. And, then I would tell them what I learned, and they're like, well, I didn't think that was possible. I didn't, and that has always struck me. It was one of the things that ignites me for what Gary and I do, is that what you just said, people don't know what they don't know. And when you can, figure out that way to say, well, if you look at it like this, you'll get a different response, a different reaction. When your perception changes, what you perceive changes. And that's always been, part of my drive. So the question is, I can do that with any individual when they're in front of me, or a small group of people. How do you do this for the planet? How do you get to that first step of saying you don't know what you don't know?
Is that question for me?
Yes, please. Or anybody, actually, if somebody's having but yeah.
I absolutely believe in the power of building on things. I don't necessarily think that an overnight success is ever really an overnight success. And I think
it takes 20 years to be an overnight success.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that when people see you living what you speak, then they want some of that too. So really, we can't tell people what they want. We have to show them that it is something that is possible and desirable, and hopefully just lead by example in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
I'll add to this as well.
Please.
I think about what Deidre said earlier, like start small, and then grow from there. I think about you two, Gary and Russ, and the community that you guys have developed with, this is the 100th episode, but you have a great community. People have grown to trust you guys in what you bring, your passion, who you are. Why not curate some people that you respect, that inspire you, bring together, kind of like what you have here, a panel of people, or a community of teachers that you too highly respect, that you admire, that inspire you, that stretch you. And then, little by little, we connect. I'm speaking me as if I'm included in this, but if not, it's okay. But it's
you're
like,
here, aren't you?
I am, but after today, you'd be like, sorry, Nat, you're out. So thanks for the
identification.
See ya.
I've known Nat for years, well over a decade now.
Yeah.
So, and we have always been able to stay in contact.
Yeah. No, I'm deeply honored that I'm here, that you thought of me, that we've stayed connected for so long, and really from the beginning, we just connected like that, like it was amazing. So, but I don't think. I think that when the people, the experts, the mentors, whatever you want to call them, the explorers in your community share their experience, their stories, the right people, a type of synchronicity. There's a little bit of an echo. I don't know if you're hearing it.
I heard it.
Okay. The right people are going to hear the message. It's it's really hard for someone that's not ready to hear a message to hear the message, right? You can't go to someone that's not ready because just they're not ready. They're not there yet. And it's not a judgment of them. It's just that's not where they are on the journey yet. You know, maybe that's not what they're even here to experience. But it's I remember I was some sort of Abraham Hicks quote. It was something like, it only takes, I don't know, like 10,000 enlightened people, or, you know, people that are living their truth to impact the whole. Like, we don't need to change everyone. You know, it starts with a small group and then it ripples out from there. And that's the beauty of it. It's organic. We're not forcing it. We're also not judging people as wrong and that they have to awaken to whatever this is, right? It's like we follow our passion. We live our passion. We live our aliveness. And in modeling that, those that desire that wake up to that in the right moment. You know,
I think the number you might have been talking about with 11, if you get 11% of a population around a certain idea, that can make the change. And it was studied about politics, not so much about spiritual things. But as you talk, I get lost a little bit in everybody gets spiritually awake. They find themselves, but I don't hear enough about collaboration with others, that should be part of it. It's not just consciousness raising of yourself, it's consciousness raising that pulls people together and connects you with other people. And I think they have to go simultaneously. And it's a very difficult thing for us human beings to think in both me and other people terms, except maybe for family members where that might happen more. But it doesn't happen enough, I'm thinking. But that's what I'm reverberating around with what you're saying, that.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think that the awareness variable is one of those things that can help with that. I think, Bernie. I think that if we bring more to awareness in in platforms like this, that we are demonstrating and living the example of that all-inclusive collaboration, and in collaboration in its purity, not collaboration. We're not cooperation and collab, because they're different. Cooperation and collaboration are there's two different energies that go along with those, right? So it's more of the collaboration of the energies, the purpose, the vision, the intent behind with what we're doing. And there's a thing we teach in our the Infinity process called evolving through the 7 eyes of the soul. And in order for us to get to where I think we want to go, I think that has to be one of the components that we at least consider, to go from the self-centered, take care of me, protect myself and everything that I have, to the, hey, we're so much more connected and so much more impactful than we've given ourselves credit for, and to live from that place in the things we do. And so the 7 eyes, so it's ambiguous intentionally as far as I and I, like I am. So it's I am myself is the first one, where it's a me perception. I perceive the world through my eyes, and that's how I see it, how I experience it, and how I relate to it, right? And so the polarities of that is doing that too much, they become self-centered with ego, and not doing it enough or neglecting it they become selfless martyrs, right? Okay. And then the next I is I am another. That's where you then have the ability to have the perception of somebody else's perspective. and how they're experiencing the world. So you disassociate from self and you experience through the world and through the eyes and the ears of another.
That's so important, Gary, that what you're saying right there, to be able, it's so hard for us human beings to do that, to get into the mind of the other person.
Well, again, I think it's because it's conditioned. My belief and my experience in observing it is because it's been conditioned that way, that it's, number one, not possible. And number two is that there's no, it's not a, and someone in the chat, I can't remember who it was, someone in the chat had said, something about teaching the kids. And yeah, I think that needs to start to get into the younger generation, so they start to come up with this attitude, this mentality, these perceptions of thinking beyond just themselves. So then the third I, right, which is now a different level. So it's I am neither. So now what you do is, now from that perception, it becomes an independent perception of the world. So it's objective. It's the objective observer that's noticing what's going on between the participants in the experience, as if like a fly on the wall, right? So it's just observing from a neutrality point of just observing the circumstance, without the draw or the pull of biases or preferences or any of that kind of stuff, right? And then beyond that is then I am the collective. So then now you can go, okay, well, that perception is what we call tribe perception. So now you're observing and experiencing the going on of what you do, what others do. You're experiencing that from the point of view of a community. And whatever the size of your community that you're calling your tribe, that's the level that you go to. Right? And so that's the I am the collective. And then there's the I am the universe. So the I am the universe then goes from just a collective of, 8 billion people on a planet to now it's, hey, we're a part of a bigger thing. Right? And yes, it's an expansive thinking for people, but because we don't have it as a conversation, we don't have it as a teaching, we don't have it as normal type conversations to go around, where we start to have these different perspectives. It's more than just me being the central individual, the single cell organism. We're so much more than that, right? And so then we go from I'm the universe to then I am a spiritual being. And the spiritual being is observing and experiencing from the point of spiritually evolving life force. Right? And then the final one in our 7 is I am all that is, and all that is me. And if we can operate from there, if we can teach our students, if we can teach our family, if we can teach our friends to operate from there by being the example of that, then I think we can move toward that co-collaborative experience that we're all talking about.
Are you an example of that?
I do my best, absolutely. It's the trap of falling into these containers of I am is something we're consistently working on. Right. And it's a huge reason why Ross and I have created the infinity process, because the infinity process, when we work it, is consistently unraveling those limitations that we put on ourselves so that we can see the expansiveness of who we are and have that as the default.
No, I meant, are you out there able to be the whole thing, observe from the whole, observe the.
Oh yeah.
You can do that.
I've done I've done a lot of practice. Yeah, absolutely.
How much acid have you taken?
Some of it has happened because I've been and I don't know if I've mentioned to you this before, Bernard, but I've been doing hypnosis since I was 13. So 40 years of hypnosis. And I do hypnosis regularly, and I do all kinds of different journeys, deep light and all kinds of I've done astral travel, I've done all kinds of things. And so I've been able to have perspectives that most people don't get because they're stuck in the or they're not stuck. They're in an experience where all they see or all they're aware of is the conscious everyday 7 to 9 bits of information that their conscious mind can contain. But when you start to practice this expansion and getting there, you can tap into these places. Some of these experiences have been through plant medicine. Right? Ayahuasca, I've had a few of the all that is and all, and I'm all and all that, absolutely, 100%, full blown. I had an experience where there was a process we did called, there's a 4-day retreat called the Enlightenment Intensive, where the sole purpose was to have a direct connection with self, with a direct connection with self, not an understanding and not an experience, but a direct experience of self, sorry, and a direct experience of self. And in that process, and I've done that a few times, in that process, when you get to that, you are beyond words for describing what the experience, because as soon as you put words, you realize you're in one of those other realms of categorizing, putting, and compartmentalizing.
Well, I do understand that, and I'm a bottom up kind of guy, and it's hard enough for people to be aware of what's going on in their own minds, and then to become aware of what's going on to somebody else's mind is a real challenge for a lot of people hanging around on this planet. And what I'm looking at is what people's videos of us are like. What is your video of me with you? And it's what video do you want me to get involved with you? And that's a kind of, and we're developing a narrative or a movie here. So like, what's the movie we're trying to do here with just us here? And what do each of us have in mind about it? That's hard enough for me to have my movie and to think about Nat's movie and Deirdre's movie, and you guys I'm getting some idea about, and think about how my movie comes together with your movie, because that becomes collaboration. That's hard enough.
Yeah,
because then together to get to be able to look together at a community, and Deirdre's right, I think, in starting with a small community, so that we can have these abilities to look from a more neutral observing perspective together at the group that we're in. I mean, I'll get exhausted just trying to go that far. That's a lot already for me, although I understand the idea. Deirdre, you seem to be thinking about something.
Yeah, Deirdre's got her hand up. She's had her hand up for a while. So let's.
Absolutely am thinking about something. I mean, so back to what I think you were saying earlier, Bernie, or maybe it was not. I'm losing track at this stage, but some people are not ready for things. And one of the things that people are not ready for in many instances is being able to step outside of themselves and go that far. But there are two things that came up as all this was going on. And one, I'm sure many of you will have come across at some stage, which is Jill Bolte Taylor's great TED talk about her experience of having a massive stroke and how that affected her understanding of what she was able to perceive about how her brain worked. And, when her left hemisphere went offline, she literally became one with the universe. And then, but she wasn't able to do certain things like form words. So, that is a great illustration of all of the things that are kind of going on within us, and the where the structure comes from, where the freedom comes from, and so on, and how we need to think about our brains as things that can integrate different ways of doing things. But the other thing that came to my mind, and I'm not sure if anyone's come across the work of a woman called Mary Parker Follett, who we're talking like 100 years ago. She was a great social reformer. And I am very much going to paraphrase here just for the sake of time and so on. But she had these really insightful ideas about how to get people working together. And this was one of the things that I remember from reading about her, was that she had this idea that there were 4 possible outcomes from any meeting, any working interaction, and 3 of them were wrong. And so the first one that could be wrong was that you went into this meeting and you got your own way, right? If you left having got your way, that was the wrong outcome. Second outcome that could be wrong was that you went to a meeting and you didn't get your own way. Absolutely nothing went your way. So that was, obviously that wasn't going to work out well for you either. Third one that was wrong was that a compromise would be reached. This is the one where I think kind of most people's eyebrows shoot up. It's like, surely compromise is a good thing and we should all be willing to, give and take a little. No, so her idea on the 4th outcome, and the one that was the right one to strive for, was that everybody came in and co-created something, collaborated, built something together that was new, that everybody had a stake in, that we could go away and that we could have ownership of in equal measure. So the thing about this is, and this is where the embracing the fearful phrase is still ringing in my head, is that a lot of people are not psychologically safe enough to feel like they can, they can mess up, they can be wrong, they can set aside their need to preserve identity through having their own way. So it's, this is one of the steps I think that we need to overcome if we are going to be able to create something that allows for all of the aspects to come in and all of the aspects to be seen, heard, and the benefits taken from them and used for the greater good.
That's wonderful. Who is the author of that book again?
Right on.
It's a lady called Mary Parker Follett.
Okay.
And she has written a couple of books, but actually if you want a really good read, and it in fact, I would strongly recommend this book. It's by a guy called Matthew Barzun, and it is called The Power of Giving Away Power.
Nice. So I'm going to just interrupt here just a second because I want to kind of give away a prize. I wanted to do it a little early, but we were on a flow. So I want to give a prize away. Now, those of you that jumped on late, the way to get into the prize, you will have to get for the next one because I've already got the names entered in. The way to get on, if you want to get one of the prizes that we have for today's stream, you have to put hashtag 100th episode. And then we'll add your name to the list. So we only got a few people entered their name for this first one. I'm going to do screen share, and then I'm going to roll the wheel here. So give me a second, everyone. We're going to go to that. Look, and high tech. This is high tech stuff going on.
I'm not sure what he's doing there, making me nervous. Oh, he got
there we
go. There you go.
So here we're going to see who the winner is. Drum roll. Boom. Oh, Shelly gets it. Woohoo! Everybody give Shelly woohoo! Yay! All right. So Shelly, what you've won, okay, is you have won access to our master lab we did recently called Sync Portals. And what we do it's gateways to alternate realities. Sync portals is where we cover 9 different types of synchronicities that we call sync portals, and we go through how to become aware of them, how to observe them, and also how to instigate them into your reality as well. So you're getting more of them happening for you. So we'll reach out to you. One of us will reach out. Ross and I will reach out to you. Keep a look on Messenger, on your Facebook, and we'll respond to you and reach out. So congratulations for Shelly.
All right, and we have some more guests on our panel. They popped in. Anya was here earlier, and then we lost her. And then now we have Gail and Gregory Hoag. Welcome. You guys kind of caught us right when we were taking like a little bit of a pause. We were giving away prizes.
How synchronous. It was synchronistic, and we gave away a prize about synchronicity. Whoa, wait, Bernie, how about that?
That's a good one. I like that. It's part of the dance, I think.
Exactly. Oh, that's fantastic. So I see a still image. I'm going to make sure that that Gail and Gregory are actually on. Can you hear us? All right, we'll wait for them to kind of pop on. Anya, welcome. We're so glad to see you.
Here we are. Okay, here we are.
There they are. Fantastic. Everybody, I'm a happy camper now.
So real quick. So as far as collaboration, because that's really what our focus here is. With Anya and Gail and Gregory, we actually are a part of a collaborative effort because of Anya, who kind of streamlined that and kind of started that this year in a program called Expansion Alchemy. And so Anya, maybe it's good to kind of get you to jump in here. We've kind of been talking about what is it going to take for us to create a global collaboration of thought leaders with a singular purpose for the intention of touching minds and souls and dreams and really making an impact long term through the planet and long and deep in the planet.
Yeah, and this is exactly why expansion alchemy came to me. So in meditation, for about like I took like a 4 hour, I was in a 4 hour meditation, and the entire business was channeled to me. The name, the colors, who I want part of it, the copy, everything. And what kept coming to me was collaboration, not competition. Like we are going into a new era, into a new way of collaborating with people. There's no such thing as competition because the only person that you can compete against is yourself. So why try to compete against others? There's no such thing. So we collaborate and we come together so we can have and create that lasting effect afterwards where we help the world in a lasting, impactful way together. Because what I teach is different than what Ross teaches, different than what Gary teaches, different than what other people teach as well. And we all bring our own spark, our own intuitive hits to it, and our own way about it. And it's okay. I might resonate with someone else might resonate with someone else, someone might resonate with Ross, someone might resonate with Gary, and that's okay. But together we are creating this beautiful movement where we are raising the vibration of the planet. Because yes, I can reach 100,000 people. Gary could reach 100,000 people. Together, we're reaching 200,000 people. So why not create a lasting impression and something that's going to last while impacting more people at the same time? So collaboration, not competition.
I would love to jump in here. Is that okay, Ross?
Please,
Great.
please.
Great.
Before you start, tell us a little bit about yourself. One of the amazing things about Gail and Greg is that they have already have that global thinking process and they've already acted on it. They have developed some amazing sacred geometry and placed it in different points across the planet. So they were I'm just like, that's a perfect fit for what we're trying to do. So I just had to give you a little bit of a plug there, because I just love what you guys are doing. So Gail, please go.
Thank you, Ross. And it's lovely to meet everyone. And we'll get to know each other a little bit more as we continue on. Gregory and I have been working with sacred geometry for about 38 years now together. We created a business called Metaforms, designing different sacred geometric forms, technologies that support people in connecting. And something that is very, very important to us is being able to connect on all of the levels, not just global, but also multidimensionally, because we are multidimensional beings. And so that really is the essence of what we've been working with to support people in that journey that will make and does make a huge difference on the planet and elsewhere. So I like to use the word co-creation, and that's something that we've been working with for a very, very long time. We were very affected many years ago by the work of Buckminster Fuller and the concept of synergy. And Ani, what you were talking about, when we put all these different aspects of who we are together and what we bring to the table, it's much more than 1 + 1. We get into like the quantum effect. And co-creation is a real different animal because it's not just like, how can we collaborate on something? The distinction that I would like to speak to is that we actually hold a different concept, that we are one. And together, when we come together with the specific intention of co-creation, absolutely extraordinary and amazing things happen. We've been around because we've been doing this now for over 38 years, and we've dealt with a huge amount of different thought leaders and creators. And, in the past, something that I would see is that when people would come from it's mine, it's the I rather than the we, over and over again, these big projects would fall apart. And what is so important is for us to move into that space of co-creation, knowing that that truly is the way that we bring forward some of the most difficult or the promising solutions to the most difficult issues that we face here. It is not about 1 + 1. It's really about the quantum effect of coming together.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Any comments on that from anyone? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of, we've talked. Go ahead.
Hey, Russ. No, I really love what Anya said and what Gail and Gregory were saying, that collaboration versus competition and co-creation. And it is kind of what I was saying before, where, you know, we have a collective of different energies, different awarenesses, and we come together. I think one of the most beautiful things that can happen is maybe we don't agree on everything that someone is saying within this community that you're creating, but we have respect for each other. I think that's a beautiful model to the world as well. And that, you know, we're at different levels of awareness, consciousness, different vibes. It doesn't matter as long as there's synergy. And us together, we lift each other up in coming together and sharing whatever our unique message is. That's how energy works, right? Like if I'm sure we've all experienced it, like, you know, standing by someone that's just like super calm, and then you become calm and grounded, or someone that's super excited, or someone that's super stressed. You know, if you're not grounded yourself, you might be swayed by that person's energy or that awareness. So
yeah,
you know, when we come together, being ourselves and doing the work that we're doing, we're elevating together, and then it ripples out.
Yeah, I have a question for Gail too. At the beginning, you said multi-dimensional connection. That we haven't gotten to that one yet. What are the multiple dimensions that you're multiplying us into dimensioning?
Do you want me to say?
I'm going to let Gregory get into this because he's really good at that too. And thank you. That's a great question. And I appreciate that.
You see, less than 10% of us shows up here. And when I say us, I mean, we're like icebergs, where the majority of it is hidden under the water. The majority of who we are, the way we're interacting with the world on our emotional level, on our mental level, those are higher dimensional aspects of our being. I mean, people that are able to see auras that are really a projection of the emotional body in the 4th dimension. That means that there's a field around us that some people can tune into, that have that awareness, and that's another dimensional aspect of ourselves. And all the way to soul itself. I mean, this is really, I think, ultimately what we're all working on, is to have more of an embodied soul experience in this physical dimension. I mean, this place that we're bumping into, that we trip over, it's only 0.00001% physical. I mean, 99.99999% is pure energetic space. And what we do with sacred geometry, we see how that little 0.0001% drapes over the non-physical, because that teaches us, and that's what we've codified with sacred geometry, because it's a universal language that shows us how energy works, how it works with our reality. And if we want to shift our reality, we need to dive into that energetic realm, which is multidimensional. And that's why sometimes people can be intuitive. They can work with time differentials and see something in the future or the past. And it's a function of stepping out of this third dimension physicality and taking the perspective of a higher dimension, that when you get past fifth dimensional reality, you're bending time. And so time is a construct that we play with in this dimension that we need as human beings to start expanding our level of consciousness, not just our awareness, but our awareness has to go into those higher levels of consciousness, which include a multi-dimensional outlook. And when we have that outlook, then we start having the respect for other human beings, because we see that we're just playing with the same kind of basic aspects of being, and yet it's being displayed in different ways. And those different ways are so small compared to the largeness of who we are and the way we need to dance with our planet and the animals and the plants, all the human beings, but not just our planet. Because you see, sacred geometry is a universal language. So we need to prep ourselves not just for creating a relationship with all of us within this sphere we call Earth, but to be ready and have that connection and soul-centeredness with enough people to allow larger communications with extraterrestrials or extra dimensionals. I mean, it's like we're such tiny beings in a large field of play. And I think that's what we're speaking to today. How do we begin to connect within ourselves to then allow these larger fields, these larger understandings, these larger opportunities to come into our lives?
All I'm really asking is these different fields. Can you give me some pictures of it? And the one I heard is energy fields around us and in us. And I don't know if we want to talk about it here, but you refer and allude to an energy field with lots of different dimensions in it. And that's really what I'm most interested in, is what are those things? And yet sacred geometry seems to be able to help do it. But like I like to have a guide to say what, hey, as Nat might say, we're going over the next hill and that's what you're going to see. That's my kind of way of thinking about things.
Well, you're going to be surprised. You know,
I love surprises. I mean, that's what synchronicity often is. I'm into surprises. I mean, that's where the education and fun is.
Right. I mean, it's like we're all trying to nail down even the idea of what is a higher power, a God or whatever. And if we have 8 billion people on the planet, then we've probably got somewhere around 11 or 12 billion different ideas on what that is. And when we all pass this incarnation, I think we'll all be surprised. And so these multidimensional levels, we can bring them into the environment through some of the different geometries and tools that we work with, and people are able to distinguish those different dimensional levels. Like when I was saying, there are some people that can literally see auras. Well, obviously, auras are not part of our 3D dimensional reality. There's a fourth dimensional reality where they hang out. And there is a fifth dimensional reality where the thought process and time can be worked with. And time works at a whole different sequence of events. Our time in this dimension is incredibly codified. I mean, I can show you how all these geometries are actually cycles of time, and that is a very big conversation. But bottom line, it's just to know that you and I are only conversing with a small aspect of our beings. And as we open up, in Eastern thought, it might be considered enlightenment. I don't know if they would, it's any, the point is, it's really expanding your field of awareness so that you don't depend just upon the input from what you call your senses or the input from what you call your brain. The brain is a non-local phenomena. It's actually controlled by a higher dimensional aspect of our being.
That's
Gail, you
fantastic.
wanted to
Deirdre,
say-
you
No,
have a question?
I see.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Gail, go ahead.
No, I would like to hear
We
from,
wanted to
and
allow some other time.
I'm sorry I don't know your name because I wasn't here at the beginning. I apologize.
Deirdre.
Deirdre,
Ah,
thank you. Hi, Deirdre.
Don't worry. So just listening to everyone and listening to the many threads and recognizing that we're all trying to get to the same thing, just looking through different keyholes. And coming back to the idea of what are the ideas that we have to get to what's beyond, beyond our little keyhole and in. So I'm just wondering if anyone has had any thoughts about, just how we help to achieve this grand vision that Ross and Gary have, this challenge, this gauntlet that they've thrown down for us. What is it that we can do individually and collectively to move us closer to that? And I mean, just, listening to you all here and listening to the amazing thinking and ways of looking at things that you've all got going on. I mean, I can automatically think of like 40, 50 different people who would like to listen to each of you, who would resonate with what you are saying. Not necessarily everyone, as Nat was saying earlier, but, that there are people who would absolutely love to know more about what you're doing. And in doing so would, again, move themselves a little closer to what we all seem to think would be a great thing to have happen. How can we do this?
Well, I think part of that solution is kind of what we've started here, where if you have, and I think if more of us that are in the field of getting out there and speaking to individuals and creating an impact, if we have that as a platform that, like you said, we work together and say, hey, why don't you come and talk to my people about your thing? You talk to my, just like we've been doing. And that's kind of, we, as Ross and I have been attempting since this year, we thought, that let's get more interviews out so we can get other people's perspectives. And because we did our thing, was just us for 2.5 years. Right. And that was, as Bernie had said, that our people, when they come to our, they're everybody here on our page and in our streams, they're here because they see our consistency. They see us living to the best of our capacity, what we teach, and they built trust around that. And so because that, when we bring speakers like yourselves in, it opens them up to a broader perspective. And that's where the collaboration comes in. We bringing you in because we feel that you're going to bring something to our audience that we can't, because it's not our specialty or expertise. And so if, and if we see that there's, other platforms where, where Greg and Gail would fit better on, and we have a connection to them, to create that and to come from this place. And it's too bad Anya had to go, but to come from this place of, it's not about the competition of keeping your people. It's about getting the people into a more empowered state, and that should be that should be the impetus. That should be the motivating factor. And I think that I think that the more we do that, and the more we bring into that type of community amongst us, then we can get that out to the larger community of the masses that are listening to us and our people.
So just, because of the whole kind of integrated thinking thing that I like to go on with, and we clearly have the vision and the big picture. Do we want to put some numbers to it? Do we want to, say, okay, well, this is what we're aiming for?
Give us an example. What do you mean by numbers to it? You mean like how many times or what? Like,
well, I mean, okay, what my experience in working with groups and teams and all kinds of things, when there's a lot of passion and it's directed by maybe one or two people, it depends on those people and their energy to get it done. Whereas when the group is more, for want of a better word, democratic in terms of the way the interest is coming to the purpose, then you actually, you get a lot more done. So I guess what I'm trying to get to is, if we have some structure that we know what we're aiming for, then it's a lot easier for people to know what they can commit to, what they can do, what they're aiming for, really.
Agreed.
Yeah, 100%.
May I say something?
Please.
This afternoon, we're going to be with another group. It's called a JV directory. So what two of our friends have done is they've created a directory where different people that want to joint venture together can meet. And it's something that involves.
I've been a part of that for 2 years. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, good.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're speaking to a similar concept here. And that is, how do we create the directory that fulfills a lot of people's needs to connect, and finding the people that, as Deidre was saying, that really appeals to their next step of evolution? Because, I mean, yeah, there's no point in us debating that here, what we each feel and do, but we want to be able to respectfully get that out to the world and have people be able to say, I want to be part of that. Especially so many people in these developing countries, in Europe, in Asia, in Africa, in Australia, there are people that are finding us, and yet it would be nice if there were a more streamlined way of reaching these people and forming that kind of directory. So what are your thoughts that we can pursue something like that?
You kind of read my mind in the opening of this forum. I talked about, there's we have the Library of Congress. Well, how about we create the Library of Empowerment, and where people can say, listen, I need to learn this. But as you said, there's people in a lot of other places on the planet, in the world, that don't have whether it be the access, or they don't have the resources, they don't have the money to access this. So if we took and we made this directory and such, and attached to each how we break it up is can be, you can have spirituality, you can have sacred geometry, you can have business, you can have all this stuff, and within each of those categories and such, there's people like ourselves who have offered a service like, here, this is for you. Because as Deirdre said earlier, you don't know what you don't know. So here you are struggling because you have some sort of limitation beliefs that are holding you down, that are learned or pressed upon you, or for whatever reason. And I for the lack of a better term, I said you have a lot of the ignorant people. When I use that term, I mean people who just don't know. Okay, they just don't even know it's possible. So we have this resource for them to say, hey, listen, here's something that will get you started. Okay, and it's free. You can just download it or just watch it online or whatever the case may be. this is going to start it. This was done by Deirdre Morrison, and she's going to, she's going to show you this because she has an amazing incubator series that I love. Or if you want to learn, excuse me, about sacred geometry, then you're going to go talk, there's this, a basic, this is going to get you started. And this was created by, Gail and Gregory. Or, you want to learn more about, well, we lost Nat had to drop off. But you want to learn more about a spiritual awakeness, then you're going to go see Nat, and he's going to give you an introductory course that's just there for you. It's just for you. So you have a starting place. And then that you don't know what you don't know kind of becomes like, I don't know, but I do know that there's now possibility. I do know that there's people out there that want to help me and such. And, that's what Gary and I have kind of, been, bouncing around, in our heads. And that program in turn can be broken up into tiers. You have your beginner, your intermediary, and boom, 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 for people who are just like, I can't afford to go see Tony Robbins for, $10,000 or $15,000, whatever the case may be, but I want to try. I want to learn. Because there are
need a hand up, right? They need someone to extend that hand. And I think that, to go along with that, I think the idea is, if we, and again, we've been throwing this around, is if we can reach out to leaders like we've had on the panel here today and others, and come to a place and say, hey, we're going to create this library of resources that's just open. It's an open door policy. It's open door policy, and it's completely accessible and available to any country that allows us to be able to have the content stream into their That's countries.
Yeah. Which is, and we brought this up at the beginning of the forum today as well, is that you do have areas and countries and beliefs and such that they don't want that. They don't want people to have this type of information. They're like, no, we like you right where you're at, where you don't ask questions. You're easier to control. You're easier to manage. And but we want to say, listen, here are options for you. It's not a matter of us being anybody that's on this forum or that ultimately gets involved in this. It's not a matter of us saying, this is what you should believe. It's just like, no, we're just going to show you how to think a little differently.
Well,
So
how would it be?
Go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
Sorry,
Julia.
thank you. The ideas are starting to flow now. You can tell because the responses are getting quicker. So how would it be then if to start with, we created a list of all the things that we are already doing that feed into this mission? So for instance, the idea of the library and putting together resources that are virtual and so on. I know that one of the things my colleagues and I do is that we make an allocation of pro bono hours available to work with nonprofits and charities.
Nice.
So that we just make that. Basically, we want to support people who are supporting people. So it's kind of, we're finding a bridge to make that impact and those ripples go further, I guess. So that's for instance another thing that we can just have as a suggestion if people want to know what they can attempt. And I'm sure there are lots of other ideas that we've all had over the course of our attempts to make changes.
Well, that's an interesting concept of that's a great way to kind of start the ball rolling, is create the library. We'll use that since we don't have another term for it, we'll start the library, but then you connect that to people who are already out there, organizations and nonprofits who are looking for resources and such. And and if the library is extensive enough, or when it becomes extensive enough, then there's a resource for every issue that all of these organizations are already working on. But now they have another resources like, hey, listen, you're having these kinds of problems. go to this library, go to this section, you know, and watch this program, and this program. And this is going to give you a really good heads up or a head start and such for, you know, what you're dealing with. And that could be, you know, it could be for children. It could be for, you know, abused women. It could be for people who are ill that have kind of given up. It could, I mean, there's a lot of broken people. There are a lot of people who, you know, have dealt with some sort of a traumatic issue in their life, or they have that, what we've all felt at some point in our lives, where they've had that feeling of there must be something more. I hear about it, I see things and such in passing. There must be something more. What's the difference between that person who's driving in the Rolls Royce and me? How did they get there and I'm here? And I'm still here.
Yeah.
The question,
Ross,
yes.
I want to go back and, you know, Greg brought up the platform of the JV directory.
Sure.
They've been doing this for a number of years, and David put together a lot of stuff. And when he
That's
and Mark
how we
came
actually met.
together, that's right. And I think they're still in a very formative place in their growth. And because they are attracting a lot of people who, you know, who are exactly the people that we want to interact with. I love the idea of like a library. I think that could be a component. There could be more components. So that could be a place to take this and brainstorm this with Mark and David as well, and see where it could go. And another place, you know, where we've had a really large outreach is through YouTube. You know, YouTube is like the biggest search engine. I mean, it's an amazing place where that could be another component, where there is a YouTube channel that each of the people that want to play in this capacity can come in and co-create, you know, can bring their piece of it, where people can come back and say, well, this is what I'm looking for there. You know, it can be very responsive. So that, I think that the potential for YouTube is absolutely enormous, and it's global. You know, it can get into all kinds of places that, you know, our smaller networks aren't going to have the capability of doing.
And you want someone that can index it for you in a way that it's nonpartisan and it's open-hearted. And you know what David and Mark are doing, I think is really based on that heart-centered connections. And so another aspect is that David Ricklin had another business that he's let kind of wane before this. And it's about growing your higher self. Spiritual growth. And you know, something like that, some type of an umbrella that would consciously include all the things that people are wanting. It's like for their growth, for their consciousness, there may be ways of working with even some of what they've set up already, Mark and David.
Oh, for sure.
To do what it is that all of us are talking about. And when you come to us for sacred geometry, it's something like, okay, I'll be in charge of finding all the other people that are working with sacred geometry that I can come across.
I like that.
And, you know, what we want is to be inclusive of all these different aspects of becoming connected. So
people get different flavors of each thing. I love that.
And so, you know, find people that are into a certain field and say, okay, who are all the other people that, you know, on one hand, they're not competitors, they're different flavors, And
Sure.
as
Yeah,
Deidre's
exactly.
saying, they have different keyholes to look through. Let's be willing to do that, especially at the first, of just adding to this list and then finding a way that this list can be put into some kind of electronic format where it can reach out to a lot of the world, because there are very impoverished sections of the world where now, especially, young people are finding computers. Young people are finding ways of connecting in. Our daughter was studying in China for 4 years. And so she had different platforms where she could get out and get information.
Right.
And so there's got to be ways that we can start drawing the world together through what it is that you're desiring, and we're all desiring. So
exactly. And I think there are. I think there's hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of people like ourselves who want to do something like this, but they're all kind of going in all these different directions, and it's just all kind of blending together, kind of graying out. And
we need someone to corral the cats.
Well, that's
Yeah,
why,
exactly.
I think it's important to work with people who have already spent years developing some of these, these platforms and technologies.
There's no
Just
sense
to
in
start from
recreating the wheel.
scratch is like,
it's like Wikipedia comes up at the top of most searches. It would be nice to have some type of spirituality index pop up.
Psychopedia.
Say that again.
Psychopedia.
Psychopedia.
That sounds wrong.
I know.
We're with you. We understand.
I think that was a Hitchcock movie.
Yeah. So, how do we get? It's almost like you need to come up with that verbal platform that will be the holder, and then start approaching people and say, would you like to add into this? If your field is working with, this aspect or that aspect, who are the other people that you would like to include in that? Or even if you don't like to, but there's almost a need within us to be inclusive, because that's the game we want to play.
Exactly.
So let me try those rules without letting it go through, that part up there. Just, let my heart to say, okay, these are all the people, not that I'm judging, but that I know deal with this subject.
Yeah, I love that.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
And it does seem that creating a kind of an ecosystem of balance within that, and bearing in mind the many ways that people will come at this search that they've got, that trying to find their way to change, to development, and so on. Making sure, I think, that there are many flavors, like you described it earlier, Gregory, available, will be important in terms of ensuring that you maximize how people can see this, how they can explore it, and I guess ultimately how they can see that we're all coming at the same thing from different keyholes.
Yeah. And awesome. And these can be, I see this as, where, there are personal development companies across the world and such, in different languages and different formats and such like that. And I see all of those, all coming together, especially with today's ability to relatively, transcribe information, so quickly, and interpret information. And it's we're not limited to, I can't do that one because it's in English, or I can't do that one because it's in Russian, or I can't do that one because it's in, Spanish and such. It's like these days, it's like, no, anybody can do it now. Everything can be translated, almost instantaneously and quite accurately. So, and that's the other part that excites me is that it's not just, they said it's, it's not just one type. It can be, everything can be built into this from everywhere.
It seems that the intention, the unifying intention, is really the important thing here.
And to maintain that,
yeah, but also to I guess give it voice in some way to what is the intention, what is it that we are trying to achieve, and to make that something that people can recognize for themselves however they come at it. So for instance, I practice martial arts, and I see very much the journey to self-development and so on being almost parallel in some ways to what I do with applied neuroscience. So, people who are sculptors or painters, they will have their own process that will allow them to get into their self-observation, their noticing, their increasing awareness. So how is it that we can phrase the intention to keep this as open as possible?
Good question.
I think that's going to be a work in progress, because there's it's a big ask that we're looking at, right? And I think that there's it's covering a wide range of potential types of conversations, and I think this is the start of that, right? And this is that's really why we instigated this, so we can kind of get those things churning for us as well as you guys here, because we think that you guys being a part of this, and those that were here earlier to be a part of this, would be great cohesion between us all, where we're all bringing our wisdom, our genius, and our energy and resources together to create that big thing. So I think that it's an ongoing thing that we'll have to just kind of put something out there and then chip away at it, and then come up with something, and then from there move into the place of what's the platform we put it on, and then from that platform how do we get the message out, because it's one thing to put it there, but then what's the guy getting the message out is the next piece, and then being able to just kind of grow that. And again, going back to what we first started off in the beginning of, is starting small, and then just kind of and allowing it to evolve into those different levels as organically as it can.
Right.
Though, what Deidre said, I think is really brilliant, because what you want to do is sit down and really wordsmith that credo that you want to work by, and you'll have a nucleus that will then start attracting people. And you need the words there up front, so you don't have to take 5-10 minutes to say, this is what our dream is, this is what our goal is. And then you'll start, the more you'll chip on it over time, and play with the different words, but start with some kind of nucleus that we can all be attracted to. And if someone isn't, then say, oh, how do we make it more inclusive with our words?
Right.
However, what we're, I think, asking for is, because this is your child that you're birthing, is start to put the words together. You can send it out to all of us, and we'll say, yes, I resonate, or maybe add something like this. And then once you have that, I think we've all done that before for other businesses that we've had, for ourselves more than anything. So we know how we solidify our beliefs in the real world, and that we can ground it in this 3D reality. So I would like to see how you put out your Library of Congress languaging. And this is some kind of a universal catalog that you're putting together. And it's going to be inclusive from the get-go of this and that aspect, It's going to be respectful of all of this and that aspect. So those are the words that you need to start putting out, and
Right.
then try again and keep us all in the loop. And that's how we're going. We're writing a book and we're looking at titles, and Lord knows there are lots of
Yeah,
titles.
exactly.
And someone comes up and says, "Oh, I like it when you say this way," and we go, "Oh, that would make a good title."
Right.
So, but we started with something to build on. We
Right.
threw
Well-
some stuff out there. So, I think that's what Deidre and what I am also reinforcing is, put some things together. Let's play with those words.
Yeah, well, when we something I said during the opening is that it's the kind of a premise of something that's not owned by anyone, but rather something owned by everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't a tagline; it's more of more of the idea, of the core mission statement of this program, to where it is so encompassing that it's not our project, it's not your project, it's not Deirdre's project. It's everyone's project. We just happen to be the focus point of it, so that the information has to be focused somewhere and such, and then distilled and permeating out.
We are the
Every
village.
project needs shepherds in order to take the flock where it needs to go. So be good shepherds.
Yeah. And the brainstorming process, when, if you've ever just had a plain whiteboard and everyone gets to put up their
Right.
different ideas, and then you start to cull it down and you see, oh, well, this person said it this way, but it's really just like this, but maybe we can make it so it's a little more inclusive. And so, we could even do another session that's just a brainstorming session, but again, with a very clear concept of what it is that we want to get to. Where are we driving towards?
Right. Well, Gary and I have discussed, having, numerous of types of events like this, forums like this, to where it'll accumulate into a some sort of a global collaboration summit, that's going to be bigger and more expansive. But we do want to get the core of the project down and get people's input and find people who are just, want to be part of it. Some people's like, no, I got too much on my plate. No, that's cool. And such, but other people.
And that's for our audience too, right? So for our audience to also
Right.
participate and contribute in that and
Absolutely.
share on, hey, have you guys thought about doing this and those kinds of things? I think just to open it up, and that was really the intention of this on our 100th episode, to kind of make a shift energetically in some of the focus we're going to do with our streams and what we're putting out there, and how we're working with others in the same in the field of human evolution, right? And so real quick, I just want to jump in here, and it's a little later than I wanted to, but I'm going to do prize number 2. So if you jumped on, you're here late. All right, if you're here and you're here late, you can be a part of the prizes. We're giving away prizes, and you have to enter hashtag 100 episode. And that's how you get your name in. So if you're on there, then you are on the list. So I'm going to do a screen share and do the winner. So there we go. So the next winner for prize number 2 . There we go. Katura, if you're on, congratulations. Ooh. You're a winner. We'll reach out to you. Ross and I will reach out to you, and if you want to get onto the list, and if you're not on these names here, you can enter hashtag 100 episode, and then we'll add you in for the final one before we end off today. And so what you're going to win is a access to our master lab called Money, Abundance, Spirituality, and the 10 Laws to Having All You Could Ever Want. And it's a really powerful almost 4-hour training. And so you'll get that. We'll reach out to you and let you know. So congratulations to you. All right.
Perfect. Beautiful. Thanks, Gary.
Hmm.
All right. So we are coming up on the end of the second hour. So Deirdre, what's on your mind? I can just see your brain's just spinning there.
Process.
It's not spinning that fast. No, I'm actually just sitting here thinking how wonderful it's been to be in a space where everybody is looking to make a positive contribution and a positive change. And I was thinking about how Gail put it there a few minutes ago about, the whiteboard and the ideas and the brainstorming and so on. And it reminded me actually of a story from that book that I mentioned earlier, which I'm not on commission for, by the way. I just think it's a great book. But they told the story of how the Great Seal of the United States was created. And it took an awfully long time to get it right. But the symbolism and the collaboration and the amount of thought that went into creating something that represented all of the components of what it was supposed to represent, it really it's just such a wonderful story. And I think that it is something that is, when something's worth taking time to create, then it's worth taking time to create, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think we've kind of
I think
formulated
it's important that, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, Gail.
I think
please
it's
go ahead.
important that whatever it is divinely inspired, because,
Yes.
where we are right here, we can only see. But when, it's like when you go into a really, really wonderful high meditation, all of a sudden, like the pictures are bigger and grander. And so I think it's important to, we're aware that we've got a lot of issues on this planet yet. And I always like to open up to spirit to have that voice come through, have that intuition and that guidance come through so that we can go as deeply as we possibly can.
Mm.
And that's something that we want to actually offer in the library so that people can understand how that whole concept and process works. Just that alone, learning, is a massive step for a lot of people. Imagine.
I guess the one thing that also occurs to me is that it's not necessarily the people who want the information, but it's maybe the people who, again, going back to the people who don't know what they don't know. And that maybe is an important ingredient in creating or co-creating whatever the statement of intent might be as well, is, somebody who just has no interest in any of this stuff. How would they read it? What would pique their interest? What would help them to maybe start thinking about things?
Well, Greg said something in that something that Gary and I have, been teaching since the beginning, is that, we show people how to step into the eye of the storm and such, and they're going to observe the chaos that's going around them and such. But ultimately, those people that are in that chaos are going to go, well, how come you're so calm? How come this doesn't bother you? Well, because I have this. And then those people will gravitate into the eye along with that. Well, I want to be like you, or, your mindset, because I am tired of this chaos that I'm living day after day after day. And then they just start to gravitate. And others won't. And that's their choice. They can stay in the chaos, but Greg said it perfectly. It's just like, the people who are using the material, people will gravitate towards them. And then we make it very clear, share this library, let people know, share the idea that it exists. Don't try to push people into your belief system. You'll pull them in simply because by your actions and such. And then just say, if you want to learn what I've learned, this is a resource this is where I started. And it just grew from there. And, so it's not selling the steak, it's selling the sizzle. It's just like, listen, I'm showing you, we try to lead by example all the time. we live what we teach, and that's why we've expanded so quickly, which is great, and we're so grateful that this has happened for us. But it can happen for everyone. We have no egos to bruise. We have, we're just like, listen, we just want the people to learn that they do not have to struggle, because it seems when you do step out and you are in that eye of the storm, you also end up being at the 30,000-foot view, and then you start to see things differently, way different, and you're like, well, wait a minute, how come this is being, you can kind of feel a manipulation, or see kind of that manipulation. It's just like, no, that doesn't have to be this way. There's another answer. You have
and I think it comes down to, Ross, this the way that we close our 5-day challenge, right? So the way we close our 5-day challenge is with a portion of a poem, and it goes something like this. It goes, I'd rather see the teachings than hear one any day. I'd rather one should walk with me than merely tell the way. The eye is the better pupil, more willing than the ear. Fine counsel is confusing, but example is always clear. And the best of all mentors are the ones who live their creeds. For to see good put into action, it's what everybody needs.
I love it. I love it.
Right? That's not our poem. But it's that kind of puts it in essence, and that's where I think that that's how we all collectively come. We move towards that type of experience individually, and then bring that to the marketplace, so that collectively we become the example of something like that.
Lovely.
Yeah. And then you have a million people being examples.
Yeah.
For another million. And each million.
Well, then we get to our 11%, right? I mean, that's the intention, is to get to that 11% where we're all getting to that 100th monkey concept, and then it just becomes the way it is. We just wake up one day and like, oh, that's just the way it is. It's like, it's just the way it is. We're now in 4th dimension. It's
and you need to start living there now to enjoy.
Absolutely.
So then that makes the process real, as you're saying, for everyone. So that's what each of us is doing.
Yeah, we're walking that path.
And anyone who is teaching without learning, I mean, they always go together. I learn, teach. I learn more by teaching than anything else.
Oh, yeah.
And I choose to teach what I don't know. And that's even the more exciting thing, because then I know before that time comes when I'm on this little electronic device that I will have downloaded, I will have discovered that which is necessary to share. And it's such a process of you pulling it out of me and me making the best of you shine.
Right.
Absolutely.
And somehow, particularly the last few years, we've gotten real comfortable with all the digital platforms, Zoom and all that. And now that we're moving beyond that now. So I think it's important that whatever we do, we include the ability for like real physical interactions. I mean, not just online.
Absolutely.
And studies are showing now that that's what people are really wanting. There's a lot of hybrid platforms that are developing now, because I think we're all longing to really be able to touch people again,
and around people. Yeah, for sure.
And that's, we feel a little, strange about it because we're out of practice. So I think we want to include that as part of the practice too, and find
which is
ways.
Where our annual summit, that's kind of where we saw that, where it would be the live as well as the virtual for people who can't make the trip, but have that experience for sure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great.
Wonderful. Well, that's the end of our second hour. We can keep going. I know I want to be respectful of everyone's time.
Yeah, I have a number of things that I'm kind of in the midst of right now. I need to get back to.
You squeezed us in, and I am so appreciative.
Thank you. Thank you.
I really, really am. And Deirdre, any last comments? She's I'm just getting started.
No, I think I said pretty much all I needed to say earlier with the gratitude for creating this, and the hope that we will see more and do more and change more.
Absolutely, that's the intention, and you know, I mean, the frequency of these will escalate as we get, you know, the more of the energy of it and the formulation of it coming into fruition. The frequency of these things, at least from us, anyways, the invites will be out there, and then if you guys can make it, great, and you might miss one or whatever. We're going to be looking at doing more frequently.
Actually, one final
I'll put together. I'm gonna put together kind of a group list of everybody that's. I just put a group list of everybody that's been on today, and then I just put out an invitation to people actually on the page that, you know, if you like what you're hearing and you want to be part of this project, then to DM Gary myself, and then I'll just create a group list, and it'll just keep building and building, and it'll keep everybody informed. And you know, we can have some private conversations if it's more convenient, and you know, more forums like this, so that people see what we're doing. And again, it's a great way, from what Gregory says, it's a great way to let people see what you're doing, you know, so they can get involved, and at some level, at any level. And somebody might know somebody else that knows somebody else, and that knows somebody else that. And it's like, oh, I know exactly who you need to talk to. That would love to do this. So let's just see how it happens. You know, we'll see how it unfolds. And it might be for everyone here. It might not be. That's totally fine. But the opportunity is always there. And I, again, am so appreciative of the all of you taking the time and making the time to make this happen. And nobody said no. I don't think I don't recall anybody just saying I just can't make it. And so it's like, I will find a way. And you know, Gregory and Gail had a mishap. What was it, yesterday? And you know, she's, well, it's not going to work exactly the way we wanted, but we will get there. You know, and it's just like, that's so cool.
And then we had another major thing that happened last night with our daughters, and there are two cars that got one of them's probably totaled and the other's damaged, where somebody rammed into them in a parking lot.
Oh, so my goodness.
I need to do something practical, like get back onto the insurance stuff.
And just
I hope they're
moments
okay.
before we
The two of you missed our chaos in the beginning. Yeah, you two missed our chaos in the beginning, because just as we were about to start, Gary lost power.
Oh,
just gone. And then we moved everything over to me, and Facebook wasn't cooperating. So we're just like, and I'm thinking of you guys, and I'm thinking of him.
I was on my mobile and my computer, and had my mobile for my backlight. I was in the dark, and it was actually quite comical.
He will prevail.
Yeah. And here we are yet with all of that. Isn't that beautiful?
Right?
There we are.
Here we are.
And I think that's the message, you know, it's like there's no expectation of smooth sailing or cruising. We were talking about that earlier. This is not what life is about. You know, it's like, how do we meet the challenges and the opportunities and keep showing up and keep learning and growing and evolving? So, you know, I embrace all of it.
And it's that higher perspective you were talking about, and that we're always moving to, so we can watch ourselves. And one of the issues we have is taking this character too personally, and he's going to have all kinds of issues and strange things happen. And if you can watch him and love him and just let the world play itself out, then you can see the opportunities that happen rather than seeing it as impediments. And so we didn't have water until just before we walked up here. And it was like, one thing broke, I tried to fix it, another thing broke. We've had two different plumbers here today that I was interacting with. And, you know, one thing broke, and I said, oh, I happen to have ordered a second one of those. Let me find it. And I found it and blah, blah,
Nice.
blah.
Synchronicity.
You know,
Yeah.
but it's just the play. So
Yeah.
it's all play. And then
Absolutely.
as long as we keep doing that, just like little children that are constantly going, isn't this miraculous that the world is working like this? And I get to be part of it. And I will play it the best of my ability today. So,
And my question
Nice.
with that, Gregory, is that when you just happen to have ordered that second part, was it something just to like, something just kind of said you should order a second part, or is that just a habit that you have? I just always order 2 parts.
well, this is for our UV purification system. When I order bulbs, I always order 2 bulbs.
Okay.
And the second bulb that they sent us, it was 2 inches or 1.5 inches longer than the first bulb.
Wow.
And so it didn't quite fit. It's kind of like, but that's what they sent me. At least but it'll work. We just use some electrical
That's
tape
fantastic.
to black it off.
Yeah.
All
And I
right.
have to say that as we were going through the process with where the leak was and the problem was, there was a little, this very subtle message that came in that said to me, there's something about that light that needs to be part of it. So I kind of got like, I was
Beautiful.
I was being notified to watch out for that.
There you
And
go.
then of course it happened. So
Well,
it's
see,
the small
Interesting.
voices, that the more we
Yeah.
listen, it's profound.
All right.
yeah. And then there is so much support in the universe. And I think that's what we were talking about earlier as
It
being
is.
much more than this physical character. And when we
Yeah.
start expanding into the largeness of ourselves, we start touching upon the fullness of love in this universe. And there's always, it's almost like you have the challenge and you have the solution. Both. You just need to be calm and centered so you can bring the two together. And again, not take it personally, because this act will close, in another few minutes, and then we'll be on to another play.
Yeah.
That's right.
There we
That's
go.
right.
And let's
There we go.
continue. And let's continue.
Yeah.
Good to see
Absolutely.
both of you. Good to see
and
you,
Me
Gary.
too. Yeah.
And when we can get when people can get to the point where they can filter out all the distractions, a lot of that messaging is going to they're going to go, where did this come from? It's always been there.
Always.
And
Yeah.
you just got rid of those distractions, maybe took off the blinders to where now you can see and hear this messaging. So
That's
thank
what
you too. I greatly
meditation-
appreciate it
Yeah.
again.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much for being
Uh,
here.
We will be in touch with you, and we'll keep you apprised of our progress and of when we put together the next forum, and you will obviously be the at the top of the list for an invite for that.
Thank you.
Well,
We
we
greatly
look
appreciate
forward
it.
to playing
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
for sure.
God
Take good
That's
care.
awesome.
That's
And so for
Bye-bye.
those of you that are watching still and or catching the replays, thank you for being here. We will share all the speakers' contact info again in the chats, as well as on the YouTube channel in the comments. So make sure you check there. I'm going to do one final prize for the day. Because we said we're going to give away 3. So the final prize.
Hey, my name's not on there. My name's never been on. This is rigged.
Linda. Linda gets her
Hey,
prize.
all right.
Hey, Linda. So if you're on grade not, check to you, Linda. Now what you get, let me just hold on here. There we go. So Linda, what you get is you get access to our master lab called Crafting Your Life Story for Inner and Outer Evolution, where we look at how the metaphors, the stories, and the characters that you've associated with your whole life have crafted and influenced who you become today, and then how you can turn that around from today to come up with your own new, consciously come up with your own new metaphors and stories and create a story for your future the way you like. So you get access to that. It's a 3.5-4 hour workshop, a master lab training that we do. So anything else you want to say, Ross? And then we can just wrap
Yeah, I
this
just
up.
want to remind everybody that if you haven't joined our private group, please jump on. We'll put the link in the comments. It's going to be facebook.com/groups/the Infinity Matrix. And also, as we said before, jump on our YouTube channel where you have access to all of the videos that we've done, all the 99 before this one, plus our interview series, plus our time clips, our rabbit holes. I mean, there's 100 and I think we're probably up to about 175 videos on there now. All of them are powerful, good material, learning. We take you through steps. We don't just talk about how things should be. We show you how you can change your life. And so that's the YouTube. And then I will also make sure that all of the panel's information is in the comments and also in the description on the YouTube channel so that you can have access to them as well. And that's part of our way of thanking them for taking the time for today. Gary?
Yeah, and so
tell
and
them
the
about
final thing
the
is to let you
expansion
know,
alchemy.
Yeah, so those of you that want to see us on another platform with some additional trainings, we had Anya on here a little earlier with Expansion Alchemy. So we've collaborated with her, and we do a monthly masterclass on her platform called Expansion Alchemy. And you know, the one we're doing, the next one we're doing is on February 10th. There's 15 other really great speakers on that platform too,
Yes.
that we collaborate with, that you can get their info. And the one we're doing on February 10th is whose matrix are you living in, and how can you reconnect with the awe-inspiring self? And you know, it's Aldous Huxley once said, there are things known and there are things unknown, and in between are the doors of perception. So in this Expansion Alchemy Masterclass, we're going to expose the reality that it's very likely you are not living in your very own infinity matrix. The fact is that most people are walking around in a trance most of the time, and their reality is influenced by thousands of other things on a moment-to-moment basis. So this masterclass, we're going to dive deep into whose matrix are you living in and how you can reconnect with the awe-inspiring self. Now go out there, and we dare you to be an example of exceptional. And the only way to do that is to implement what you learn, to learn from what you implement. My name is Gary. This is my buddy Ross. Thanks all our panel for being here and spending the time and sharing with you guys. Thanks you guys for all listening and being here for our 100th. And we look forward to our next 100 as we move forward with an evolution of what we're going to be bringing to you guys as well.
That's
All
it.
right.
We love you all.
Thank you,
We'll see you
everyone.
next week.
Bye-bye.
So we truly hope you enjoyed this latest live stream. Each week, we bring you the best in cutting-edge techniques and processes to help you better yourself and create the reality you desire. In order to stay notified for more live streams like this, as well as any upcoming interviews, master labs, or time clips, be sure to click the like button and ring that bell. As a matter of fact, you might be ready to step things up for yourself. You see, everything and everyone you've been exposed to in our live streams all have one thing in common. They've harnessed their own potential, claimed their badass self, raised their game, and leveled up. Whether it be in business, personal, romantic, for whatever dimension of life you choose, there's always a next level. So we encourage you to rekindle your passion, your purpose, and spirit, and step it up, and register for our next free 5-day badass challenge. The link is below, and we are excited to see you take a leap into a new reality that only you can imagine.